My telephone system in the studio. Oh, some days. I was trying to dial up our next guest, and you would think because people are trying to look at a number either on a piece of paper or on a computer screen, and you're trying to punch in the numbers. And as you're doing that, if you pause for a minute to look back at the number to make sure you're getting it right, it'll disconnect you. The phone company just doesn't seem to realize that real people are using the product, and that sometimes we do go back and reference the number. Pete Coulson is joining us this morning, and of course, uh, he's been on the program with us a number of different times. He's working on a book, but he's got some other exciting developments going on in his life. And of course, many people locally know Pete for his work with a lot of teens and other children throughout this community. Some of them troubled over the years, and his efforts too as a sports referee and the work that he has done there, and really as a mentor to a great many people in the Magic Valley and in the Treasure Valley. We're coming up on 7:34. It is 56. Bill Colley with you on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And first of all, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
You know, we were going to try to do this on Wednesday, and as I understand it, you're in transit, and trying to do this from an airport terminal wasn't going to be easy. So we thought this morning might work out a little bit better. But I got to start out. You've been telling me the last few weeks that you may be, I don't know, there's almost like a tour, I guess. You may be doing something called the TED Talk.
Right.
That's being worked out, I guess, right now as we speak.
Yes, I applied for it. I was requested several years ago to try to do that. It's an organization that allows you to kind of voice your perspective on life. And so you have to go through this application process to get chosen to do that. And they have a local one scheduled for April 11th here in Boise.
So that would be next spring. You get a little bit of time to think about what you had to say.
Right. Basically, between October 2nd and the 6th, they do the selection process. Then you go through a training. Then you have about 5 or 6 practice sessions until the actual event.
Do you feel that you're ready for this?
I think so. It was interesting. A couple of weeks ago, they called me up and asked me if I was interested, and they wanted me to kind of dish out about $4,800 to train me, or $4,800 to train me to speak. And I said, nada. I think I can handle it.
Yeah, you've been doing a little bit of this already from
yes.
From various areas. I got to ask you a couple of quick questions about refereeing, because you're still heavily involved in that. And in past discussions, we've talked about how you've managed to calm down sometimes the angry parents and the like. Jack Johnson was in the studio with us just a few minutes ago, and of course, Jack has done some refereeing himself of girls soccer, and he was telling me before he left, he said, it's amazing. He said he feels for people who are doing this in front of millions of people, for instance, with television audiences, because he said with what you experience just at the local level, it's not easy. And we've talked before about this. We're going to have a shortage of people who are doing this simply because so many people don't want that criticism any longer.
Right. It's really unfortunate because sports should be a tool used to teach about life. Life isn't fair, and so we need to learn respect, responsibility, resiliency, and just being realistic about what's going on out there. And people seem to forget that.
This morning I was reading a story online. I didn't see this game, but the Denver-Chicago football game yesterday was decided in the last 31 seconds, 2 different teams scoring in the last 31 seconds, and referees calling penalties left and right. And then I couple that with a story I saw where the Oakland Raiders claimed that they were ripped off on a penalty yesterday, even though it wouldn't have made a difference in the outcome. The second guessing that goes on of people in these jobs, I don't know any other occupation in America that is. I don't even know that the president gets second guessed as often as people who are actually wearing the striped shirts.
That's so true, and I think that's where people lose sight of what's kind of happening there. The referee is designed to keep organization in a game and keep it flowing. And they're going to miss some things. That's reality. The game is never going to be perfect, and that's what people seem to forget. It's just a reflection about life. Life is never perfect. You know, we have obstacle that comes our way. And we need to teach people through sports, through it as a referee, as a coach, as a mentor, that life is never going to be fair, but learn how to have that responsible respect for each other.
I read a story a couple of weeks ago about a fight that took place between some parents at a ball game, their children's ball game, and one of the parents ended up dead after the fight. We
How
have
tragic.
we haven't seen anything like that, obviously, in Idaho to that degree. But good grief, it's almost as if we're coming apart at the seams with the way these parents are sometimes reacting.
It is. It's really unfortunate because the kids lose because so many parents live their athletic career or lack of it through their kids. And kids can no longer enjoy the game. It's all about winning, not about learning. And my philosophy is you never lose, you either win or learn, which is a win-win. You learn how to be responsible, you learn how to be respectful, you learn how to be reasonable, and you learn how to be resilient. And if we don't allow our kids to do that, we're missing a teachable moment in any event, whether it's band, whether it's cheerleading, whether it's playing a sport. Those extracurricular activities teach us about life. And so many times parents want to dictate what the outcome is, and they can't. That's not realistic. And that's where I get challenged, and that's why I've come up with this phrase, we're here to save lives and help children learn. We can help the process or hurt it, the choice is ours. And I get so frustrated whenever a child come up to me and say, Ref, I've got a coach yelling at me, I've got a parent yelling at me. Who do I listen to? And I said, you listen to the coach because that's the person in authority over your life for these few minutes. And the parent should just be their cheerleader. I talk about my 4 C's. Let the coach coach, let the player compete, let the ref correct, let the parent cheer. And my added one is, and sometimes parent, park your helicopter so the coach can coach that child, and the child gets new, refreshed perspective on life.
I wanted to mention, if people are just joining us, we're speaking with referee Pete Coulson, and it's coming up on 741. We're at 55 on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Bill Colley with you on Magic Valley this morning. When I was young, and I started in organized sports, I guess in the 5th grade, and yet I do remember some parents, but there weren't many. There were some of those parents who they were a little overbearing with their kids. I didn't have to worry about it with my mom and dad. They were just sort of there in the crowd. We and people occasionally groused about a referee's decision, but it wasn't really. It just seems that culturally it's gotten much, much worse because we have all of these kids now on these traveling teams. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it just the intensity has changed dramatically in 45 years.
Well, I think we've lost our perspective about sports. We think the only way to be successful be a Division I player. That's not necessarily true. Anybody can be successful at any level. And that's what's got to be problematic. We think everybody's going to be a Division I player. That's never going to happen. It's like I tell parents, 0.1% of these kids playing out here will go to the next level. But 100% have to live life. And that's what we need to teach them. And I'm so thankful for early in my refereeing career, I learned some very valuable lessons from some very humbling situations because I saw this child getting mad at me, but I always wanted to communicate with the parent what's going on in that child's life. And this one player was kind of getting nasty with me, and so I had the mom keep the scorebook for me, and I explained to her, I have some problems getting him under control. She goes, well, he lost his dad a month ago. That was my aha moment. I better focus on the person first and the player second. Because if I don't develop that person and give him the latitude and the flexibility to have those difficult moments, but to be able to express them in a positive way, I will never develop a good player. And that's what's so forgotten.
Over the weekend I watched, on another note, Tim Tebow was on a TV program, and there's been a big discussion lately about maybe paying amateur athletes, especially at the college level. And Tebow said he doesn't believe it's necessary and that the games are there to teach you certain lessons about life. But you see, that's where we've gone from beyond those lessons of life. That argument about paying these young people changes the nature of it too. It takes the old enjoyment away from the game if you're out there doing it because someone's giving you a check.
Right. I think that gets so lost in a lot of things. If it's just like I paid for my college education. It took me 9 years or maybe a total of 12 years to get an education. But I'm so thankful for the lessons I learned outside the classroom that prepare me for life. And I think that's where we think that if we buy our success, we'll be more successful. That's not true. We build our success through the lessons learned through the challenges of whatever comes our way. Whether it's you have to take time off to work so you can finish college, whatever, those are such valuable lessons that we need to teach our children and our young adults to understand that life isn't perfect. Life is a building process.
Pete, hold on to that thought. We've got to get to a break for just a moment. We're talking to referee Pete Coulson this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. The Rush Morning Update is just ahead. It's 7:45. We're at 55. Bill Colley with you on Magic Valley this morning. We've got a few more minutes with referee Pete Coulson this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're about 9 minutes now from 8 o'clock, and it's 55. And I was just chatting with the referee off the air, and it got me thinking that oftentimes in life when you think that, there's an old analogy that says if you're watching kids who are sled riding, you see them take a lot of time to trudge up a hill dragging a sled. Then they get to the top, they turn around, they jump on the sled, and for two quick seconds they come racing down the hill. That life is all about those trudges up the hill for just a few seconds of sometimes actual sheer joy. But it is evidence too that you never know when some big development can happen in your life. And Pete Coulson was just sharing with me off air. He's got one of those coming up in just a couple of days. He's going to be going to St. Louis, Missouri for. Pete, this is going to be a reunion that you've been looking forward to for a long time.
Well, I'm going to St. Louis for a job-related event. But in the meantime, my brother from Memphis, Tennessee is coming up to visit. We're going to meet for the first time.
This is a brother that up until a few years ago you didn't even know you had, right?
Correct. Yeah, I found out that my mom, I think we discussed that beforehand, my mother had 7 children. And she gave me my twin brother up at the hospital. But prior to me, my twin being born, there were another set of twins born, and they were adopted out. And through the process of international studies and research, I got in touch with a company and with some people that had some connections. And I found out that I have 4 or 5 living siblings that I was never aware of. I have 2 sisters in Austria, and then my brother, who had a twin sister who lives in Memphis, Tennessee.
When you first got the news, I mean, you must have been floored.
It was just, it's hard to describe my emotions I went through. But it was so important to me to remember that no matter where you are in life, you're living to impact lives. And the way we found out about my brother is I was trying to contact a mortuary in Austria to figure out where my other brother, my twin brother, was buried because he died in 1961. And through that process, we found a nurse that took care of my brother, who ended up being my sister, who I found out about, her supervisor. And it's an amazing journey about building relationships and rekindling relationships. So it's just been a very interesting journey.
To actually find, additional family. A lot of us, my brother passed away almost a decade ago, and so just my sister and I and our children. But to occasionally come across the people that are additional family, I know it's not always easy to get into. I've been reading some of these stories about DNA matches and the like, and sometimes there's some hesitancy. But
Yes,
if you've gone through life where you've often sometimes felt maybe alone, it's not a bad thing to suddenly find that you've got a connection with somebody else, especially a family connection.
that is so true, and especially because we were mulatto children, we have a lot of similarities in terms of how we view life and how we're thankful for the gift of life. And that's something so forgotten. Yes, it's emotional because one of my sisters we connected with, it took her a while to warm up. My other sister, who's kind of like a mother hen, has really been very good in orchestrating that relationship.
I was going to say, sisters have that. That seems to be a universal, that mother hen ability that they have.
Right. You have to be careful with that, but it works for you, it works against you at times. But I'm very grateful for her spirit and her love for her sister, despite the fact how her mother treated her.
How come nobody's approached you yet about turning your life story into a movie?
It may happen. I'm just trusting the Lord to open that door. I'm just trying to take advantage of the opportunities given me to share that story. I'm speaking to a group of retired police officers in a couple of weeks, and I'm just blessed by my story, and I just trust if that door opens, it will. If it never does, I'll be thankful. But till my last breath, I want to be able to impact lives, not because of the color of my skin, but the content of my heart, and the fact that I've built relationships despite the obstacles for life-changing opportunities. And that's just my prayer, my hope, whatever happens down the road.
You know, there's to some degree we're all interdependent. I was thinking the other day about a boy that I knew when I was little, when I was growing up, and I hadn't thought about him in years, and his name popped into my head. His name was Joe Fredericks, and he started hanging around our neighborhood with us playing ball when we were kids. You know, we must have been 10, 12 years old, and everybody got to like him, and he was a really nice guy. And then all of a sudden, he took a turn where he just became very angry. And then one evening, he got into a fist fight with my brother, who was this nearsighted, cherubic-looking child, and I guess he thought my brother was going to be easy to beat up, but as it turns out, my brother ended up beating Joe up, and we were all kind of brokenhearted about this thing having gotten to that point. A couple of days later, Joe was not at school, and then we learned by about lunchtime that Joe's dad had killed himself the night before.
Oh.
So what had been going on in Joe's life, there must have been trouble already in the house, and it led to Joe acting out in a way that he didn't, you know, he acted out, and shortly thereafterward, his family moved away. His mother took the kids and moved away, and we never saw or heard from him again. And I was thinking about him the other day, and I thought to myself, if I could find him today, I would like to tell him that we missed that, and that if we had had an opportunity to know that things could have worked out in a much better way.
Yeah, everybody has a story. We just have to take the time to listen to that story. And sometimes listening is not saying anything, but just honestly, openly listening to that hurtful heart.
I agree, and you know, almost 50 years later, I'm sitting here thinking that at least now that I've recognized what happened, it might benefit me in some other moment of life with the time that I still have left. And Pete, I got to tell you, sadly, we're running out of time right now, but we look forward to talking to you again sometime in the next few weeks.
Well, God bless you, my friend.
Yeah, and don't be a stranger. Next time you're in town, you got to pop in.
I will definitely do that. God bless you. We'll be in touch.
Hey, have a safe trip.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye now. Pete Coulson joining us this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Twin Falls City Council on the way in just a moment. Right here on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Bill Colley with you on Magic Valley this morning until 10 a.m.